Hello my crafty friends, it's Krista here from Second Chance Creation. I'd just like to share with you of what I've been making the last few days, and but also what I've done with some I'm starting to do with my envelopes that I made for my Woolies paper bags. But I also then got carried away and made envelopes from dictionary pages, because I have I've got a really big English Oxford dictionary, you know, that stands that high, and I've just got to start using it up. So I decided to do a close-up, and my little piece of paper is where I've got to keep my goodies so that you can actually see it close up and not too far away. So I hope that's okay. I've got my early morning coffee here. I hope you're all okay out there and safe and well and happy. And if you're going through a hard time, yeah, one day at a time. I think that's what they say. I'll actually be away for a few days. We're going to be visiting our friend who lost his wife a couple of months ago. For those that follow me know the story. And he's doing pretty good, actually. He's doing okay. And so we thought it's time for a visit. So I'll be staying down there for a little while, probably only for about 3 or 4 days. It's only like four hours away. So, but anyway, so I'm building up my stash, more stash, into themes that I like, so that when I come up with a journal, I can sort of add some bits to it, and also have something finished. I tend to use quite a bit in my journals because they end up being chunky monkeys. So here I've made my dictionary paper, and just a couple of pages, and I found that it is nice and thin, but because this is really old paper, I've decided to use 3 pages of the dictionary just to use it up as well, because I've got so much with it. And I'm used a napkin for this. Really like this piece of napkin. I don't think I've got that much left of it. So I yeah, and I just, I do this with the Mod Podge, or some of them with glue stick. It depends on the paper. Like this paper was quite thin, so I used Mod Podge for it. And just put a little label there to, hide the brad bit that I put in there. So yeah, and you can use it so that it's like a floating envelope, I suppose they call them, or you can paper clip it to a page. I've got to try to stay in this little frame here. So yeah, and then I've just popped in a little tag just there, and that's decoupaged as well. I did a bit of stamping just there. I'm just going to check to see that I'm in frame when I hold it up like this. Okay. Yep. All right. Next one I did with one of my paper bag envelopes. In my last video, you would have seen how I've shared altered paper bag, the shopping bags, and I really like this. So I've decided to use a napkin and just tore away so that it doesn't cover the whole envelope. Did a bit of stamping. Used a stamp, and because I don't have the actual stamp logo, that they use, I used there's my little butterfly. I used a butterfly that had lines in it, and I just used that to put up them there. So, and then on the back, as you can see, I've really inked it up, and I used one of my little gathered paper ruffle clusters. Put on a little button, and I left the thread on, and with the paper napkin I actually glued it around instead of cutting it off, just so that it follows it through on the other side. And inside I've made like a postcard thing, but it's not a, it hasn't got the post card stamp on it. It's just got my little stamp I put on there, decoupaged it onto music paper, and then I tore the butterfly off that was on there and put that on separately. Here's a little label that I cut out from the shopping bag. I have a stamp, and I just stamped on that and just cut it out and just did a bit more stamping, and that's on the back of an index, like on an index card, and that just pops in there. And the butterfly, of course, you know, matches that one there, so I just wanted to make that like a little set, and then that just tucks in here. Okay, this one here, really like this one. This one is held together by one of my altered paper clips, and Angie, the Mountain Girl Studio from the Mountain Girl Studio, I think it's called. I always get it mixed up. I'll leave the link below in the description box for anybody that I mention in this video. So yeah, so she inspired me, and of course I put my own little twist to it. So yeah, so this is it's not a hidden paper clip, and I don't have any rusty ones, so it's a bit shiny, and I have to experiment with some ink to see if I can you know, get rid of that shine. So yeah, so I thought that color here picks up the color of the butterfly, and that's sort of the closure of this envelope. Again, it was a napkin, and which had the butterfly. I put a rough sort of label, and that's from the paper bag. And this one I've made into 3 pages, so it's quite sturdy, and I've made them fold the sides in to make it so it's like that little gusset on the sides, so that you can actually get in there and put things in and take things out. Is another one. I had a little stamp of a frame, and I just cut that out. So here I've got the jelly printed fabric ruffle, and that was from who was that? That was from Stellas Scrappy Crafts. And again, then on the back I've put a book page on here with the same butterfly, so you can actually use this to journal on, okay, because it has a paper clip, so that you can actually then pop it on a page. You know, you can pop it on a page like that, or pop it on a page like that. It doesn't really matter. You can pop it on the page like this. If I can get my fingers to work. Oh, there you go. It's got to go on the other side. So yeah, so doesn't that look cool? I really like this idea. And then I've made one. I was trying to make one a bit shabby, and it turned out a bit more grungy than shabby, but it's nice. This is from the Woolies paper bag, okay, the brown paper. It's nice and sturdy, stitched around, decoupage. No, the dictionary paper wasn't coffee dyed, so I've just sort of lightly inked it and popped on a little bit of snippet. I wanted to pick up the blues in there, and a little bit of yellow lacy fabric, and my little paper ruffle cluster there with a button. And again, I followed it through on the other side, okay, and so that can also be just a floater, and you can just pop that over a page like that if you wanted to, or like that. I hope I've got something here, just like that. I think it'll look pretty cool. Really like this idea. So yes, I've got a few in my stash now. This is just from coffee dyed and paper, and I've left this as is as well. You can glue it onto a page. I'm not sure if I want to or not. It has a little bit of pink in there. I actually did a little bit of a spritz with my fabric dye that I've got in these sort of bottles. I think you tie-dye. This is tie-dye ink, and I use that. And I had some pink, and I just spotched it on there, and just got this little one here with seam binding. Put a little bit of, I had a little pearl braid in there, covered it with some paper, and again, you know, I used an index card, keep it nice and flat. And this is a bit of my embossed paper bag as well, a little bit of burlap, and I kept this string a little bit short because I tend to get myself all wound up about which way I'm going. So yeah, so this is pretty cool. I really like that. And whatever journal it goes into, I'll probably add the colour, something to it to make it, you know, so it fits with it. This one envelope I've made this way, okay, and it also has a cool paper clip, all right, just fabric pieces. So Angie started me off with this. These are little brads with the rings, and I do believe that use them on the spines to hang dangles off. When I ordered these, this is quite a while ago, I just ordered them thinking they were the right size, and they came out too small. I mean, so now I've got bigger ones, but so I'm going to start using these little ones up. And just on some cardstock, and that just holds the envelope closed like this, okay? But look at this, isn't this cool? This is a napkin as well. Just covered this with some paper bag that I did a bit of stamping there, but it actually opens up, all right? Has a little pocket from my Franken papers. This came out of a magazine, like a scrapbook magazine, that had a whole section of papers that you can pull out. I was lucky enough to be able to get one of these. Our local newsagent had them on sale, and they were like half price. I thought, oh, why not? Just for once. And yeah, so that's what that is. And I backed some book paper, book page on the back, just like this. So you can journal on it, and just popped on a little stamp just there. Okay. This here has a little story. I'm just going to see to make sure that you can see this. This here has a little story, this little frame, okay, just there. The magazine that I've bought that was half price had some die cuts in it, and it had like a tag die cut in it. I thought, oh, I could use that. That'll be cool. Just something different. But not realising how small they were. I mean, really. I thought they were sort of like a reasonable size, you know, but, you know, it's going from this, all right? I mean, if you've been following me, you know the story of my tiny envelope, postcards that I once did, and they were so small. Well, look at the size of this tag. Couldn't even get an island in that. I think that might just be, you might just have to use that like as a little bit of extra, you know, on a tag or something. Anyway, or on a, like this or something, I don't know. And then they get to the next size like this. I mean, really? Look at this. But I'm going to use them, and I've backed paper on the back of it. I had 2 pages, so to make them nice and sturdy. And then there's this one. This is just from leftover scrap paper, okay? So, I mean, so tiny, trust me. Always getting the wrong size. But what I'm trying to say is, when I cut them out, I had these little frames, okay? And I'm thinking, well, I can use them because, you know, 2 for the price of 1. I'm not going to throw these away. So that's what I used, okay? So I've kept these little frames. I mean, I don't mind tiny things, but that little thing is a bit tiny for me. So yeah, so this is the size that I used, and I put on some of the paper napkin that was left over that was that same colour, and I decoupaged it all, and then I just wet the inside to take the bit out and just slightly inked it, okay? And then I found this little snippet. It was out of a book, and it had more girls there, and I've already used those girls, so I cut her off. And I don't throw them away because I find them really hard to get. So I've used her in this window, so it looks as though she's peeking out the window, half of her anyway. So yes, so and then I just used a little bit of the napkin that was left from here in the background, just to, you know, follow that whole seam through. So yeah, so I thought, well, I'll be able to use the frames. I mean, how cool, you know. So I was okay then after my disappointment. Okay, so that goes back on here. So how cool's this, eh? Really like this. And then I'll do this one first. And then I did another decoupage. Only had 1 piece left. I thought, oh, might as well use it. Now this one is a paper clip. Okay, so you can journal on the back, attach it to a page whichever way you want to. You can attach it like this, because then when you put it in, you've got this peeking out the side, all right? Or you can attach it like that, depends on the width of your journal. So yeah, so the rain, I didn't want rain. I used this stencil. It had little hearts on it, okay? And not stencil, stamp. It had little hearts on it. So that's what I used to, it's raining hearts. Something different. And I put a little braid on here, and it's got a little tag, and it just, you know, that sort of keeps that little flap closed. And again, I just like to use book paper there, so that you can, some plain paper, so you can actually journal on that. And on the front here is some handmade paper from my friend who's a paper artist. So yes, and I've a little bit left of this, and I really liked it, and I just stamped a number 12 on that, and this just folds back up there just like that. That's a butterfly. Look at that, it's a butterfly. So yeah, so that was pretty cool. Now this one I really like. From all of these, this would have to be my favorite. Why? Because I experimented on it. It was a fluke, and it's just how it came up, and it's just an envelope, and I didn't stitch around this. I used 4 pages of dictionary paper there. Got a bit carried away, but it's quite sturdy and still flat. It's not heavy. Use some jelly printed fabric from Stellas, grunged up ticket and paper ruffle and a button. This is a napkin, okay? And what happened was, when I put the napkin on, I used, I grabbed my cup because I was, it was late at night, and I finished, and I had a little bit left in my cup, and I just splattered the coffee on this, and I just laid it out and let it dry. And I'd done the same on the back. Came back the next morning, and I thought, oh, I really like that. So I used some of this, even though it looks orange. It's, no, is it this one, or is it this? Yeah, even though it looks orange, it's actually like a yellowy colour. So I gave that a bit of a spritz, and some here, and, you know, left it. And then after an hour, I came back. Well, I was in my craft room, but I got it back inside. And I thought, oh, I really like that now. So I had it like this, and I'm thinking, no, there's something missing. There is something missing. It just looks too plain for me, even though I had all this up here. So I decided to make it like a dimensional picture. And do you know, here in Australia, when you go to some of the big towns, you have got the big prawn, the big koala, the big Bundy bottle, all those sort of things. Here in our little town, we've got the wombat because of the football team. So, and I'm thinking, well, what if I make this look like a dimensional excuse me, picture? Oh, excuse me. So I used my stamp. I just realised I didn't clean that. I have to soak that one. And oh, excuse me, I've got to have something to drink. Sorry guys, I can't edit this video. Anyway, so got a bit of voice change now. So I've put that on there, and then I use my little tree, and it looks as though it's this big rose laying on the hills, and you've got all these trees on the foreground. I mean, how cool is that? Absolutely love it. So this would have to be one of my favourite ones. Oh, sorry. And yeah, so I mean, how cool is that? I just love that shadowy in the rose. That's part of the napkin. I didn't do that. Yes, and I'll follow it through on the back as well. So yeah, so that's that. And then I made this little postcard. It was meant to be a postcard, but because I've got one of these, I bought these from Sue from Paper Inspiration here in Australia. I just wanted a postcard stamp, not realising it was that small. And I'd like to get a bigger one where you just have this stamp, postcard stamp. So I'll have to have a look. So, but anyway, it turned out all right. And it's on the back of, and I backed it with some scrapbook paper, which is from a paper pad. And yeah, so it's not too bad. I don't mind it. It's okay. You make do, don't you? And then I was watching Shana from Shanouki Art in Australia. She made some tags, and I have been following her because I like her style of what she makes, as far as how she uses the paints and the effects she gets. So anyway, so I've made this tag, and I've used some book page I should say, where I've just folded in half and did like that, and I leave those rough edges. And I made a whole stack the other night, and I backed them all with blank book pages. Okay, so I've made some with pockets, some without. And so then cut it up in a tag, round at the corners, did my thing here, and I just excuse me, jeez, I didn't have any clear gesso to seal it, which I don't need to because it's not a brittle book page, this one, but I just used my little sanding block and just rubbed off some of the print. Okay. I then, what did I do then? Okay, and then I did some, put some paint, some ink on it, and Shana used some Tim Holtz oxide inks that you spray, which I don't have, and but she did use an ink pad onto you know, your block here. I actually used my mat here, and just then sprayed some water on it, and then I used my card, my tag, and just tabbed, you know, daubed it on. I did quite a few. And then I did another colour. I used vintage, I used sapphire, and I used moss. And that's the effect I got there. This is, I used some cinnamon. This, I've used, spritz this a little bit. So, and then I dried it. And then I forgot that I had to sew around it. So I sewed around it. So I've got to remember to sew all these before I do anything. Then I used a stencil. And I used some gesso. And this is the stencil that I used. Okay, but I didn't want it really thick. I didn't want a that raised look. I wanted like a smudged look, and that's what she did. And then she did a bit of a raised one. But I just wanted to see a little bit. And what she did also was to use gesso around the side just to make it look misty, which I didn't do. And I'll just show you the outcome, okay? Love it. Absolutely love it. Okay. Now these here, these big letters came out of a magazine. And I thought, oh, I love big letters. And so I cut them out. I've had them for a while now, onto book papers and then stitched around them. And I also backed them with plain paper. Okay, so you can actually journal on them. And I've got quite a few here, number 10, okay. So, and I've got some, yeah, I couldn't believe it when I saw this, when I saw them in this magazine. And here I've backed it onto some, like a graph paper and book paper. Okay, book page. Buckets of buttons. This is going to be another one of my journals. I thought, oh, I could use that. So, yeah, so this is what I used, okay? And then I had a label. This is actually a cloth label. For my top, it had on it Enchantress. So it must be the the label's name. And I kept that. That was in here. So I decided to attach it to a book page and use the E as for the Enchantress. And popped some cotton thread that I just pulled off my machine. Now what she's also done was splatters. And I don't have any paints that you can just splatter. So I used this. Some acrylic paints, and I used just a baby wipe, a dried up old baby wipe like this one, and then I just pressed it randomly to make it look as though it's splattered. Okay, and I just really like the effect, and I did a bit of splattering on here, and this is packaging paper. I mean, how cool. So I got carried away, didn't I? And I also used chalk as well. You'll see in this one here, I'll show you with this one what I've done. Another one. Halloween, I've received a custom order the other day to do a journal. It doesn't have to be Halloween themed, but this lady likes all the oranges and the that sort of colour. So, and I had one napkin that had pumpkins on it. And I used that vintage button, and I used that jelly printed fabric, which is this one here from Stellas. Scrappy Crafts. I really like it. And and that's the tag. And again, packaging paper. So yeah, so I took a photo of it and sent it to her and showed it to her, and she loved it. And this is just the orange chalk. I got really carried away. Then I did some collage and decoupaging. Okay, it's from my napkin. Again, here's one of my little labels. Packaging paper. And just wanted to set some of the writing. I used the edges of, you know, this here as well, because, you know, you can use it and then you can still see the writing through it. So it's got a really cool effect, I think. And you can see some of the writing up there. And use some enforcers just for something different. And here I did a collage. Okay, packaging paper. I used book paper. This is, I experimented. I had some lace and I put it on my photocopier and printed this out. That's what that is. This is packaging paper, and this came from this, okay. Stitched around, and then I used one of my labels, D, for Destiny. Never know where the butterfly ends up. So yeah, so really had fun making this. But I'm going to leave Shana's video channel link below in the description box, so go over if you don't know Shanouki Art. I really like her work. So that's what I was going to wanted to share with you. I don't think of anything else, and I'm busy today making some more of those rolled flowers with these. I went through my box and ripped off all the handles that I could find, and I'm going to do something with them today, so I'll share that with you. But I've only got today left to do a bit of crafting. It's wet and rainy here today, so yeah. So I hope you like my little share of my little build-up of little stash here. This is my favourite, of course. So let me know of your thoughts. I'm going to finish my cup of coffee. You all have a great day here in Australia. Have a good weekend. Stay safe, stay happy, and keep crafting. Bye for now.